Okay, 6 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mark?
Here.
Jeff?
Excused. He's going to try to call in, I understand. So.
Brandy?
Here.
Jay?
Here.
Kurt?
Excused.
Taylor?
Excused.
Bob?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, that gets us to time for the voluntary Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of August 16th. It was a regular meeting.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Stanton Greiger, seconded by Member Borough. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, next agenda, item 4, amendment and approval of the meeting agenda as presented tonight. I'd entertain a motion to approve as presented. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Member Stanton Greiger, seconded by Member Borough. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll move forward with the agenda as presented. Item 5 on this evening's agenda is a public hearing. There's one listed tonight. It's a public hearing for ordinance 2019-07. This is an ordinance amending section 3.08.150 of Petersburg Borough Code to outline a procedure for addressing the assembly by written comment at a public meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to participate in this public hearing? Okay, seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Bid awards. There are no bid awards listed under item 6. We'll discuss one later in the agenda, though, and that brings us to item 7. That's persons to be heard related to items on today's agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to items on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item 8. Persons to be heard with items unrelated to today's agenda. Okay, please step forward, state your name, who you represent.
My name is John Haverlick, 1204 South Nordic, and I'm representing myself. First, I'd like to thank you for an action you did a couple years ago with not replacing Joe Nelson for the electrical superintendent. That saved the borough a couple $100,000 every year. And with Carl and his crew, it's worked out great, and we need to save as much money as possible. And that's the other reason I've come today, because I'd like to encourage you to, wherever you can, not rehire people, privatize whatever we can in the borough to save money, because benefits cost half the salary, and that goes on forever and ever, and we need to save as much as we can. So I'd really appreciate anything you can do. The other thing I was hoping is with simple things like garbage collection, go to every other week, and on the alternate weeks, go to recycle. You know, again, is a money-saving, a cost-saving venture. I think this would really help, and I think most of us could do that easily. And I'd really like to see the recycling continue, because I started this with what's his name back there, Carl, years ago when I was with PIA, and I think it's an excellent thing to do, and as citizens of this country, we need to keep doing things like that. And I'd also wish that you would put a plastic bag ban on the October election, because as fishermen and people who use the waters, we need to keep things as clean as possible. I came from Cleveland, Ohio, which I usually don't like to admit, but hell, our river caught fire while I was there, just because people didn't care about what they put in the water. And we still need to watch what we're doing to keep our lives and food and everything healthy. The other thing I wish you would do is increase the rate of the senior tax card from $100 to $500. And I know this is a big problem, but if nothing else, to support the manor. We we're the only municipality in the state that owns our own senior center. And it's the best in the state. And the governor is tried to increase rates 40% for all the pioneer homes, and we need them. But we have the best facility in the state, and if you increase the senior tax to tax card to $500, put that towards paying the manor, because it costs us several $100,000 a year to support that program, and it is excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in the audience with items unrelated to today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 9, Board, Commission, and Committee reports. There are none. Consent agenda, there are no items on the consent agenda today. Report of other officers. Mayor's report. Since we just had a meeting last week, there's not much new to report from my perspective anyway. One thing we should probably talk about is the meetings in September, to see if we could, I know it's kind of hard to get an idea with the assembly members not present, but I believe, Member Lynn, you will be...
I will not be here for either meeting.
Either meeting in September. And then they go back to Monday in September, or was the decision the assembly made this spring?
Well, what they said was the Thursday meetings were just through August. So
Okay,
we were
right.
going to wait to see what we were going to do with September.
Okay, because in September 19th, I'll be in Sitka for Southeast Conference, and the 2 Mondays, the first and the third Monday in September, I will more than likely be gill netting. So that my attendance will be pretty unlikely. I could call in, but I possibly won't be here, and I don't know what the vice mayor's schedule's like.
I am cleared for the first and third Mondays of September. I'll be in attendance for both.
So the first Monday is actually a Tuesday.
Tuesday,
because of
yes.
holidays.
My bad, yeah.
Labor Day, right?
So that's the 3rd of September. And then I think the next meeting is what, the 16th? Is that the Monday?
Correct.
Yeah. Without looking at a calendar, yeah. So on Member Borough, you will be
I'll be here.
in town. Okay. So I guess it just depends on a few of the other assembly members, and maybe by then the tender contracts will be up for Member Norheim and Member Walhuter. So
Okay.
I guess we'll just have to play it by ear.
I guess
just
so.
wanted to touch on that.
I'll send out an email next week to Taylor and Kurt to see what their schedule is
Okay.
like.
And like I said, I could potentially call in.
Okay.
So, okay, that's it for the mayor's report. Is there a manager's report? Yes, sir. Nothing written. Okay. Brings us to unfinished business. Ordinances for third and final reading. There's 2 today. And the first one is ordinance 2019-05, an ordinance authorizing long-term indebtedness in the amount not to exceed $8 million for the design and construction of water and wastewater infrastructure in the borough, and directing that this matter be submitted to the voters for consideration at the next regular election to be held October 1st, 2019. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its third and final reading.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made by Member Lynn, seconded by Member Stanton Greger. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Member Stanton Greger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a brief reminder for the public that, and I'm going to be voting for this, and I hope we all do, of course. But as you go to the polls this fall, it's not just issuing a blank check to spend $8 million on infrastructure. Any infrastructure improvements will be made will be brought back before the Assembly. This is correct, Director Hagerman? And I know wastewater isn't a topic we all think about. You just turn on the faucet, water goes away, flush the toilet, water goes away. But these are pretty critical pieces of our infrastructure. And so I'll be trying to get people knowledgeable about this topic before the election so that it hopefully passes. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brandy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it passes unanimously with a 4 vote, just enough to pass it. And the next ordinance for third and final reading is ordinance 2019-06. This is an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2020 budget for known changes, and this is to allocate more funds for the casino street sewer project. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Stanton Gregor, seconded by Member Lynn. Is there any discussion? Okay, just for clarification, we'll be voting to approve the bid for this project here under a new business, I believe, coming up in the agenda. So if there's no other discussion, will the clerk call the roll?
Brandy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2019-06 passes unanimously in its third and final reading. We have an ordinance for second reading. This is an ordinance that we had the public hearing on earlier in the meeting, and it's ordinance 2019-07, an ordinance amending section 3.08.150 of Petersburg Borough Code to outline a procedure for addressing the assembly by written comment at a public meeting. I'd entertain a motion to pass this, approve it in its second reading.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Lynn, seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Any discussion on this ordinance? Member Stanton Gregor.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge Member Lynn. I know in the last meeting I was kind of wrestling with some of your logic on the amendment we made, and I think I really like how this is right now because it takes the pressure off the borough clerk, and as the clerk noted, other clerks are not reading letters into the record around the state. And I think it also gives, I think it's fair to the assembly so it doesn't appear like we're ever playing favorites with the public. If I'll read someone's letter but not read someone else's, or if I agree to read someone's letter but I disagree with the topic and then vote no, then it's a good way to dig ourselves a hole, I think, as an assembly with the public, and I think this provides a clear, linear way to do it. If someone wants a letter read into the record, they can do it themselves or have somebody in their life do that. And I know it's not always convenient, but democracy, it's hard and it takes work sometimes, so I'll definitely be voting yes.
Okay, any other discussion on ordinance 2019-07? Member Morrell.
I will not be voting for this because I think that there needs to be a way that public comment can be made when you're not present. And I don't know the best way to go about this, but until we figure that out, I won't be supporting that.
Okay, Member Lynn?
No
Have any
comment.
comments? Okay. I'll recognize you in a minute, Debbie. I think the way the ordinance is written now is it's acceptable to me. I'm glad we've made it so assembly members, can't read a letter into the record. I think if somebody has an issue they want presented and put on the record, they could, just like in the last meeting, there were letters submitted, there were printed in the packet, so they were legitimately on the record. And if somebody really wanted to read it or have it read, I would hope they could find someone that would represent them if they can't make it to a meeting. That's just, so I will be voting for this as it sits today, so that's my comment. Any other comments? Debbie, Clerk, did you?
You pretty much said what I was going to say, that it is on the record when the letters go into the packet,
Right. Whether it's read out loud.
out loud or not. That's correct.
So, any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bob?
Yes.
Brandy?
Nope.
Mark?
Yes?
Jay?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2019-07 fails in its second reading with the 3-1 vote, with Member Morrell voting no. So, just for clarification, for people listening, it just stays, is there any ordinance that says how we,
No.
okay, so we were,
There's really no procedure.
okay, so this, okay, it's like anything, it could be brought back up in the future.
Yes.
But at this point, it's a dead ordinance.
Correct.
Okay, so, new business, ordinance 2019-08, an ordinance determining that property conveyed to the borough in a tax foreclosure proceeding is not required for a public purpose and shall be disposed of by the borough. I'd entertain a motion to adopt this in its first reading. Motion been made by Member Morrell, seconded by Member Lynn. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Mark?
Yes.
Brandy?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, passes unanimously with a 4-0 vote. Next item under new business is B, 19-299, Casino Street Sewer Replacement Project. And Utility Director Hagerman recommends award of the Casino Street Sewer Replacement Project to Reed Brothers Construction for an amount not to exceed $219,211. And this did go out to bid. There was 3 responsive bidders. The next closest bid is roughly $60,000 more. So entertain a motion to approve this recommendation.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Lynn, seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Any discussion on this bid award? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Brandy?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, the Casino Street sewer replacement bid has been awarded to Reed Brothers Construction. And thanks to the other people for participating in the bid process. Communications, are there any communications by any assembly members I'd like to read? I don't have any.
Yeah, I just have a update. Hospital, is going forward, doing some master planning, and they've got the results back from testing, seismic testing, and so forth on the on the grounds and the facility there. Everything is pretty positive. In other words, it all looks good. I've asked that when we meet with the hospital board in October, that we have a discussion of the findings and of where they're at, what's being done, as one of the items on the agenda.
Okay, on our joint meeting.
Yes, with both the hospital board and with the assembly. And they've done some really good work that I think that needs to be communicated to us.
Okay, good news. So, any other communications by any assembly members, staff? No? Assembly discussion items, there are none listed today in this meeting on the agenda. Recognitions, are there any recognitions? Member Stanton Gregor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to recognize all members of the community that have put their names in to serve as elected officials. In particular, the hospital board has 3 seats open and we have 6 candidates. I'm really excited to see that because, as Member Lynn was touching on, there's a lot going on at our medical center right now. It is a critical piece of our borough infrastructure. It's not one we think about a whole lot until we need it, but it's critical. And having a strong, engaged, and active board is going to be very important moving forward. So I encourage people to get to know your candidates. Ask them questions, stop them at the grocery store, stop them at the post office, and learn who you want to be representing the long-term future of your hospital. Thanks.
Member Borough.
I would like to thank the fire department and everyone for showing up to the city shop fire.
Yeah, it sounded like it was rather exciting.
If I could add just one thing, thank you, Assemblyman Morrell. Just kind of a special reach out, although a lot of people did a great job, but to Mike Etcher, who saved our garbage truck, which was parked next to the building, and had the forethought to jump in it and move it out of the way before it got engulfed in the fire. So very expensive piece of equipment was saved from potential damage. So, but again, thanks to all of them as
And maybe since we're on that topic, and if there's any news, I guess the insurance adjusters are here, the fire marshals, or...
I can speak to it in general. We were allowed in the building, late yesterday, today, and staff is starting to go through the process of identifying what's salvageable and what's not. We've had the state fire marshal deputy here. They're gone. We've got 3 people from the insurance company here doing their version of an investigation as well as taking pictures and stuff. We likely will not know cause for a period of time. Nobody wants to kind of say it at this point, so they're going to go back and do their reports. 5 vehicles were involved, varying degrees of damage, as well as the side of the building. We will have an engineer here, a structural engineer, next week to take a look at the building, and that's part of the insurance process to determine whether it's salvageable or not. We'll also have a hazmat team here to do asbestos primarily to make sure we have identified anything that we need to abate that's in the building, whether it's for demolition or whether it's to rebuild. So probably several weeks before we know much more, but I'll keep feeding it out as we get it.
Okay, thanks for the update. Now, if there's no other... Sandy.
Brandy beat me to it. Sandy Dixon, the Fire EMS Director. So I'd like to shout out to all the volunteers of the fire department. So we train, EMS and search and rescue train at least twice a month. Fire trains at least 3 times a month. Occasionally we train more frequently than that. EMS currently is approximately 18 calls already this month, and we still have a week to go. So that's a lot taxing on the volunteers. And then the fire at Public Works, we responded with 3 engines, about a dozen firefighters, and 5 EMS personnel. The EMS people go in case someone gets hurt, and they help rehab the firefighters to ensure that they don't get heat exhaustion. And we had one retired firefighter show up and think that we would need help, and he was right, so he helped move hose around and pick things up for us. We also spend several hours after the fire cleaning equipment and putting it back in service so that we're ready to go to the next emergency. And we can't leave out the police department, so it starts with dispatch, and they page us out, and then the police officers show up and they helped evacuate people from nearby homes, and then make sure that people don't come into the scene, and they protected our large diameter supply hose so that somebody doesn't run it over and we lose water supply. So I just want to make sure it's kind of a community effort and a borough effort as well. But the volunteers are doing it for free, so keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that, Sandy. Any other recognitions? If there's not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.